Hi everyone, welcome back to the Stitches and Scribbles channel. My name is Erin, and I'm here with a crafting podcast for you. So I mentioned this in my previous podcast episode, which would have come out a couple weeks ago by the time you're seeing this. But I am switching to a once a week upload schedule instead of a twice a week upload schedule. Just because I am finally acknowledging the fact, excuse me, that I am working a full-time job in addition to doing YouTube. Right now it's still a long-term sub position, but I'm hoping to be full-time for the next school year, so I'm kind of just coming to terms with the fact that I can't upload as often as I would like to anymore. But this feels like a really good switch for me. If you had asked me, I guess it's almost 3 years ago at this point, if I ever thought I'd go back to full-time teaching, the answer would have been a very strong no. But I've had such a positive experience at the school that I've subbed at that I'm really excited about the potential chance to make a permanent switch to go back into education. At the time of recording this, I'm still waiting on a final answer. It looks like they're kind of trying to figure out the best use of classrooms versus number of teachers versus number of kids coming in. So I'm still waiting for a final answer, but it's looking like a pretty strong possibility that I will be full-time teaching in the fall. So, full-time as someone in an educational position, not exactly teaching, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Don't want to give away too much if I don't have a final answer yet. Although I can't remember if I've talked about it already before, but odds are it would be sort of a combination position of some sort. So we'll just have to wait and see. My throat is feeling a little funky today. I did a lot of cleaning yesterday with my mom, but we also did some thrift store shopping, and I have noticed in the last couple years that I seem to be more sensitive to inhaling dust than I remember being before. I also am a lot more sensitive to incense, and if you're Catholic like me, you know that we use a lot of incense in the masses leading up to Easter Sunday. So it was a week of a lot of incense followed by a week of cleaning, going through dusty old things, book sorting at my grandparents' house, so my voice is feeling a little funky, but not so bad that I feel like I can't record a podcast episode. I did want to show you some of the crafty things I've been working on. It hasn't been as much as I would have thought being over break, because I'm currently on my Easter break at the recording time of this video. But I'm hoping that with this switch to a more relaxed schedule, I'll have more time for personal knitting projects and crochet projects and not have to worry as much about the ones that are being produced for videos. So in terms of what kind of videos you can expect from this channel for the foreseeable future, my plan is that the first Friday of the month will be a what I read in the previous month podcast, just to show you what books I read, give my reviews, and also show any other book related things all contained to that one podcast episode. The second week of the month would be either a tutorial or a vlog. The third week of the month would be the crafting podcast, so this kind of video setup where I show you what crafts I've been working on, as well as any craft supply hauls, organization, stuff like that. The fourth week of the month would be a vlog or a tutorial. In this case, I think it's going to be the continuation of my Taylor Swift sock series. And then if there happens to be a fifth week of the month, I'll do some sort of a bonus video, additional vlog, something like that. As we approach Ren Fair season, it'll probably be a lot of Ren Fair content. So just some stuff to look forward to. I am going to try to be consistent about at least one tutorial a month, because that seems to be the kind of videos that you guys really like, and that the YouTube algorithm really likes. So yeah, that's kind of the plan for now, just to accommodate a busier schedule, but I'm really excited to make these changes. Again, if all goes well, reading should be a much bigger percentage of what I do, so that's why I'm kind of glad that I launched the book-related podcast episodes, just to kind of keep that going. But if you're interested in seeing my book-related podcasts, I have 3 of them up now for 2024, showing you everything I've read so far, so you can check those out. And on that note, let's dive directly into the crafting portion of this podcast. So one big topic that I was talking about for the last couple months was the fact that I gave up buying yarn for Lent. Lent is now over, but I still haven't purchased any yarn. And not for lack of trying either. I have been to multiple craft stores in the last couple days to get supplies for other things that I was going to try to do. And I did not buy any yarn. And it was something I kind of noticed both when I was in Hobby Lobby and when I was in Joann. And I've noticed this the last couple times that I've been in Michael's, even though I haven't been to Michael's yet since Lent ended. But I'm just not as excited by some of the stuff that's in there. I feel like a lot of the basics, well, let's start by talking about Michael's, because Michael's is the one that irritates me the most right now in terms of yarn purchasing. Michael's seems to have a constant in and out cycle of new yarns, but because they're not then there consistently, I can't depend on those yarns being there for a certain amount of time. Including some of my like old standby favorites that I really liked. So just to give an example, one of my favorite yarns that Michael's used to have all the time was the Karen Skinny Cakes. And I actually have 2 of them above my head. There's this like orange and teal one, and then this purple and teal one. I think I pointed to the right things. Yeah, and then there's the blue and green one up here as well. So 3 of them. One of my favorite yarns for shawls, for baby blankets, for a lot of different things. But I bought those 3 colors when I thought that those would be part of a permanent collection, because they had space like on the actual shelves in the yarn aisle at Michael's. And then one day I looked and they had just completely disappeared. They were gone from the Karen Cakes section. I have now seen that they are back, or were back for a limited time, but in a totally different color palette than what they used to have. So I don't know if you can still get these Karen Cakes online, but I've kind of noticed that in general with Michael's collections is that you can't really count on anything being there permanently that's not just like very typical basic yarn. So like their Craft Smart things are always going to be there. Their Red Heart Super Saver is always going to be there, although they have a very limited color palette for both of those, actually. The Impeccable yarn is always there, and they have the Bernat blanket yarn. But what I noticed is they have a very specific set of colors for their Bernat blanket yarn that is different from other craft stores. I don't know what that's about, but they seem to have a much more muted color palette, which for me when I was doing craft fair stuff was fine because I liked kind of the more muted colors. But if there was a specific color I needed, like I remember looking for, I think it was an orange one time, I really needed an orange, and I could not find it. Which is why I started getting my Bernat blanket yarn at Joann instead. And then Hobby Lobby kind of has the opposite problem of they almost always have exactly the same collection and do not deviate at all. I also noticed Hobby Lobby used to carry like a decent amount of sock yarn, like the Patton's Croy sock yarn, and that, at least at my Hobby Lobby, is gone. They also seem to have gotten mostly rid of their hand-dyed collection, which kind of grew on me after a while. There were a couple colors I really liked. My Hobby Lobby now, instead of having them all hanging like they used to, they have like 6 of the little slots in the shelves with a very limited color palette. So there's only like 6 or 7 colors left, which kind of strikes me as odd. And that's their only like weight 1 yarn other than like some of the crochet thread type stuff. Otherwise, it is like at least a quarter, no, I think it's like a third of their yarn selection is just the I Love This Yarn acrylic, which is fine. If that's something that you use a lot, that's definitely was my go-to yarn when I was doing more craft fairs, was to get things in that yarn line. But it's not great if you're looking for something more unique and fun, or even just lighter weight yarns. The only other lightweight yarns they had, and it didn't even go down to a 1, it was like 2s and 3s, were in the baby section, which you don't want baby colors for everything. So there's that. And then Joann, I don't know what their deal is right now. I know that they filed for bankruptcy, and someone told me that the stores aren't closing, they're just like restructuring on a management level. But their yarn collection also seems a little funky. They have their like standbys that they always have, but I feel like there's stuff that I've been seeing online advertised for Joann that my Joann just doesn't have. Like a lot of the KC yarn, which is their version of like hand dyed like luxury type yarns. My Joann does not have a lot of those, if any at all. And I noticed that they're bringing in some more like basic stuff. Like they brought back the like tube t-shirt yarn that they used to have. That seems to be back. But all of those stores that I've been to recently, I just haven't felt inspired by the yarn that's there. I feel like I'm now finding things online or in local yarn stores that I like better. And I don't know, I just don't feel the need as much anymore to like buy new yarn just to play with it, which I'm really proud of myself for making that mental switch. But it feels kind of weird that like I put so much pressure on myself that I like gave up buying yarn for Lent, and then I like walked into craft stores with the intent to like treat myself to some yarn and walked away with nothing. Kind of weird. But because of that, I do not have any new yarn to show you. I did have one cool thing I got from Hobby Lobby because it was on sale. And it's this little drawer organizer thingy. And you can see it's still in the plastic wrap because I was afraid that otherwise I would tip it and knock all the little drawers out. But I got this to try to revamp my bead organization. I want to do more beading. It's something that like I've always had the supplies for, but I don't really take the time to do it very often. But I want to get back into it. I feel like I kind of revamped my interest in beading because of all the Taylor Swift bracelets that I ended up making. But I feel like because I have it in drawers and in those little organizer thingies, it's a lot harder for me to get it out because it takes up so much space on my desk to like have out everything I need. So the logic behind getting the drawer organizer is that I could pull out just the little drawers that I need and set those up instead of having like giant trays where I'm using like one thing from each tray. So that's the logic behind that. I realize that's going to be a whole project by itself to get that organized. So maybe by the next crafting podcast, I'll be able to show you what that looks like. I also saw some people who will take like one of the beads or one of the findings from whatever's in the box and tape it to the outside so that you can see what's in it. Very interested in doing that. But at this moment, I do not have any clear tape. So I realize that's something I'm going to have to purchase if I want to do that. But really happy with it. It was on sale for $35, which I think was a pretty good deal. It also matches another like rainbow cart that I have down here in the basement. It's actually the cart that my camera is currently sitting on in order for me to film. So it'll kind of match the space and not stick out too much. Because if that was my only like neon rainbow thing, I probably would have been, excuse you, cell phone. I probably would have been off put by, I'm just going to put that on silent because that was the start of a group message. So I don't think it'll be going away. what was I saying? Oh, if that had been like the only neon rainbow thing down here, I probably would have waited until I could find an all clear one. But I definitely seem to be going with all of the crazy neon colors down here in this space, so I didn't mind it too much. Plus, I think I can use the colors to kind of do some level of organizing by type. But we will see. I also was starting to get really annoyed with the little jewelry trays because a lot of the ones I have are the ones that are adjustable, so you can take out some of the little walls. But that meant that like every time I went to like dig beads out, the walls would shift and some of the beads would like slide under into the wrong compartment. So this will eliminate that problem. But yeah, very excited about that. The other thing I got that I wanted to show you, and it's actually in this rainbow cart, which is why the camera just got shaky. I actually got a new video camera. So for those of you who don't know or haven't seen me talk about it on this channel before, even though I'm pretty sure I've talked about it a couple times, the video camera that I film on and that I'm currently filming on is from, I think, 2010. My dad had some like points program thing he did at work where he was able to get 2 video cameras, one for me, one for my brother. And that's what I've been recording on since I started YouTube. This camera has been with me through most of high school, all of college, my first 5 years of teaching, and then up to when I started my YouTube channel. It is starting to not work the way I want it to. And unfortunately, the parts that aren't working are all like physical things. It's not like the camera itself is buggy, but the like internal threads on the screws to like put it on a tripod are kind of stripped at this point, so it's really hard to get it to stay on a tripod. The clip that holds in the battery pack is broken, so I have to like set up the camera and then like not touch it so that the battery doesn't slide out. And overall, I knew that that was just not going to work moving forward if I wanted to do any sort of filming out and about, or even just prevent the battery like sliding out randomly during videos, which the fact that it hasn't happened during a podcast episode is pretty amazing. But I decided to get the, oh, now I'm going to forget what it's called. This is the Canon Power Shoot, I believe. It looks like this. So it is a teeny tiny little camera, but it has a digital screen on it. The screen does flip up so that you can see yourself while filming, and it has a built-in kickstand so that you can set it on a shelf and record, which that was the feature about it that like really drew me in. You do need to close the kickstand before you can close the screen. But I liked how mobile this would let me be. It also has dual microphones on top, so the sound is supposed to be really good. I haven't gotten a chance to play with it much yet because I'm still waiting on some micro SD cards to come from Amazon, because that's how it records memory, is on a micro SD card, not a regular SD card. And this camera that I'm filming on uses a regular SD card. So you'll start to see videos on this very, very soon. I'm especially excited about this for filming tutorials because it is so small that it's not going to be as much in my way for filming. And it does also sit on a traditional tripod. It does have that mount on there. And yeah, it's just a single button to press to shoot. The menu settings were pretty easy. I did all of that already, and it charges with a regular micro USB. Yeah, micro USB. It's the same charger that my phone uses. That's how I remember. The only downside of it that I can see so far is that there's no external battery, so you can't like charge an extra battery and take it with you. But because you can charge it with a phone charger, that means that you could charge one of those like emergency battery pack things and use that to charge it. So that part's pretty great. Especially since some of those are solar. If I'm like planning a really long day where I'm outside, like a Ren Fair type day, I could bring one of those chargers. So yeah, really excited about that. So if all goes according to plan and I start playing with that this week, this should be the last video filmed on this camera. But because of my upload schedule, the video you saw last week might be on the new camera because I'm filming a tutorial this weekend that will come out before this podcast episode does. So, yeah. Very exciting. First new camera, like new filming equipment thing in like 15 years. So, very exciting. Moving on to what you probably actually came for, which is ongoing projects. So, I have one finished object. No, I have not woven in the ends yet. But I finished what I was calling my Easter cardigan. Did I finish it for Easter? Absolutely not. I finished it a couple days after. But part of that was because our Easter plans kind of changed. So since I'm in choir at my church, the choir sang for Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Easter Vigil, which is Thursday, Friday, Saturday before Easter. And we were not singing Easter Sunday. And if you're Catholic like me, if you go to the Easter Vigil Mass Saturday night, you don't actually have to go Easter Sunday. So since the choir wasn't singing Easter Sunday and we were going to drive to visit my grandparents, we decided not to go to Mass Easter Sunday. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, I could still finish the sweater in time and just wear it to my grandparents' house. But we ended up, like, moving some furniture and doing a lot of house projects. So I ended up wearing something a lot more practical instead. So this did not get finished in time. However, I love it. I think these colors are so fun, especially now that I'm holding it up to the camera. It is giving rainbow fish just a little bit, but that's okay. I like rainbow fish. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that is a children's picture book about being nice and sharing with others. But it definitely looks like the colors of the rainbow fish illustration. But yeah, that was just a plain old hexagon cardigan. It's with yarn that I got from the Wisconsin Sheep and Wool Festival last fall. Really excited that it's finally done. I felt like I was working on it forever. Do I have multiple other hexagon cardigans planned? Yes. Don't know why. I clearly will never run out of things that I want to make hexagon cardigans with. So it'll just be a continuing series on my channel of how many hexagon cardigans can Erin make. The other, like, ongoing project I have right now is my first raglan sweater, which last time I showed you I had not split for the sleeves yet. I have now split for the sleeves, so this is what it looks like so far. Very crazy. I also have gotten to the point of where I have some more color changes happening. So towards the bottom, it is now shifting into more of a indigo color and a yellow. So pretty soon it'll be like a pale yellow and a pale, not pale, like a pinky purple is kind of the next upcoming colors. So I'm very excited about this. I did kind of do some more thinking of what I want to do with the sleeves. And I do not want to have to split my yarn continuously throughout this to make the sleeves match up with the body. I decided that that is something my brain will simply not allow for. So we're not going to do that. I still haven't decided yet if the sleeves are going to be striped or if they're going to be solid. But either way, I'm going to finish the body without breaking to like use the same colors for the sleeves. And then just kind of decide when I get there based on what colors I have left in my 2 yarn cakes. So that's the plan for that project. I do have a couple other projects down here, but I honestly haven't made any progress on any of them. So I'm not going to show those today. We'll just kind of call it quits for this one. So yeah, it's been a really nice, relaxing spring break, especially since I made the decision to not do 2 videos a week anymore. Part of me was like, oh, well, you could do like one more round of 2 videos a week if you just film a bunch during break. And then I realized that's not what a break is for. A break is to take a break. So decided to do that instead. Really happy with that decision. And excited to still continue bringing you guys content, just adjusting for my current schedule. But that's going to be it for this episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully next time I will genuinely have more things to show you. But that's going to be it for this one. If you're interested in subscribing, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below so you can be notified of all of my crafty content right here on YouTube. And if you want to follow me on other social media platforms, that information will be in the description box below. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.